Most histories of the Second World War will tell you that by the summer of 1944, the Allies had perfected the use of the tank. The narrative is one of overwhelming industrial might, of Shermans rolling across the French countryside in unstoppable waves. But for the men inside those machines, the reality was a different kind of arithmetic. In the close, compartmentalized terrain of the Normandy bocage, a labyrinth of ancient hedgerows, sunken lanes, and small fields, the American Armored Division, a force designed for exploitation and maneuver, found itself trapped in a brutal piecemeal slaughter. Tanks, confined to narrow channels, became easy prey for well-hidden German anti-tank teams. The doctrine of massed armor, so effective on the plains of Russia, was breaking down in the hedgerows of France. And it was here, in this bloody impasse, that a blunt, cigar-chewing colonel named Creighton Abrams began to rewrite the rules of American armor, not from a command post, but from the turret of his own tank. This is not a story about a famous general who later gave his name to a battle tank. That comes later. This is the overlooked story of a combat commander in the crucible, forging a new doctrine of combined arms at the squad and platoon level. A doctrine born not of theory, but of sheer pragmatic necessity. The lessons he learned in 1944 didn't just change the course of a campaign. They created a template for survival and effectiveness in close combat that resonates far beyond the hedgerows. The bocage was a problem that theory had not anticipated. American pre-war armored doctrine, heavily influenced by the speed and chaos of the Civil War's cavalry, envisioned fast, sweeping maneuvers to disrupt enemy rear areas. The tank was a weapon of penetration and exploitation. The bocage, country of Normandy, rendered this vision almost useless. Each hedgerow, or bocage, was an earthen berm, often 4 feet high, densely matted with roots and crowned with trees and brush. They were natural fortifications, partitioning the land into thousands of killing zones. A German machine gun or Panzerfaust team needed only to cover the 1 or 2 gaps where a tank might try to pass. The American advantage in numbers and mobility was neutralized. Tank crews, trained for open country, now faced an infantryman's war, but they were locked inside 30-ton steel boxes with severely limited visibility. The casualty rates reflected this failure of doctrine. Something had to change, and it had to change immediately at the tactical level, or the breakout from Normandy would never happen. Abrams understood that a tank, alone, was merely a target. Abrams commanded the 37th Tank Battalion, 4th Armored Division. His personality was critical, aggressive, but not reckless, deeply practical, and possessing an uncanny feel for the battlefield from the front. He did not see his tanks as a separate elite arm. He saw them as one component, albeit a powerful one, in a combined arms team. The doctrinal failure was one of integration. In the bocage, the infantry could not advance without tanks to suppress enemy strongpoints, but the tanks could not advance without infantry to clear those same anti-tank positions. The existing manual solutions were too slow, too cumbersome for the relentless yard-by-yard fighting. Abrams became a relentless experimenter, soliciting ideas from his junior officers, his sergeants, and even his mechanics. He fostered a culture of tactical innovation under fire, where a workable idea from a corporal could be in use across the battalion by the next afternoon. The survival of his men depended on this flexibility. The solution was not a new weapon, but a new way of thinking. Out of this desperate innovation came tangible field-expedient fixes that would later be formalized into doctrine. One of the most famous was the Rhino tank. A sergeant in the 102nd Cavalry Reconnaissance suggested welding steel hedgerow cutters, taken from German beach obstacles, to the front of a Sherman. This simple modification allowed a tank to punch through a hedgerow root system, rather than laboriously climb over it, exposing its vulnerable underbelly. Abrams immediately saw the value and pushed for its adoption. Soon, nearly every Sherman in the First Army had these crude, effective devices. But the hardware was just an enabler. The real innovation was in the combined arms tactics it allowed. Now a tank could burst through a hedgerow, surprising the enemy on the other side, while supporting infantry fanned out through the breach. It restored the element of shock and local maneuver. This was not grand operational artistry, it was problem-solving at the point of contact, turning a defensive terrain feature into a tactical advantage. Command from the front meant seeing the chaos for yourself. Abrams's personal leadership style cemented this new doctrine. He commanded from the front, often from the turret of his tank, Thunderbolt. This was not mere bravado, it was a critical information-gathering technique. From the front, he could sense the flow of the battle, the intensity of resistance, the morale of his troops, and the true condition of the terrain. Radio reports could be sanitized or delayed. The view from a map was an abstraction. Abrams believed that to command armor effectively, you had to feel the battle, the dust, the concussions, the spatial relationships between units. This allowed for incredibly rapid decision-making. He could commit his reserve, shift an axis of attack, or call for support the moment he saw an opportunity or a threat. His command tank became a mobile nerve center, but one wired directly into the sensory experience of the fight. This principle, that understanding and therefore effective command, requires direct, unfiltered contact with reality, is a timeless lesson in leadership under extreme conditions. The doctrine of speed, surprise, and violence of action was forged in the breakout. The true test of Abrams's evolved doctrine came during Operation Cobra and the subsequent breakout across France. The 4th Armored Division, now a fluid combined arms team, was unleashed. Abrams's battalions moved with a speed and aggression that honestly just bewildered the retreating Germans. They avoided prepared defensive positions when possible, bypassing strong points to be reduced by following infantry, always seeking the soft spots to drive deeper. This was the original armored dream, but now executed with the hard-won lessons of the Bocage tanks never operated alone. Coordination with infantry and artillery was continuous and practiced, and the objective was always to dislocate the enemy psychologically, not just to occupy ground. The relief of the besieged 101st Airborne at Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge was a classic example. Abrams didn't bludgeon his way through German lines. He found seams, attacked aggressively at night and in poor weather, and maintained such a relentless tempo that the enemy could not reconstitute a coherent defense. It was armor as a psychological weapon, wielded with precision. The lesson was that doctrine must serve reality, not the other way around. What Creighton Abrams demonstrated in the European theater was a masterclass in adaptive tactical leadership. The U.S. Army had a pre-war doctrine that failed its first major test in close terrain. Abrams, and commanders like him, did not throw the doctrine away. They radically adapted it to the environment and the enemy they faced. They empowered their subordinates to innovate, rapidly field-tested solutions, and integrated arms at the most basic level. The survival of their units depended on this intellectual and practical flexibility. For the survivalist-minded viewer, the core lesson is profound. Any plan, no matter how sound in theory, will collide with the complex, chaotic reality of a crisis. The ability to adapt, to improvise using available tools, and to foster a team where every member's survival is tied to every other's, is what creates true resilience. Abrams's armor doctrine was, at its heart, a doctrine of survival through mutual support, aggressive problem-solving, and decentralized initiative. We remember Creighton Abrams for the tank that bears his name, a symbol of overwhelming modern power, but we should remember him more for the thinking that bears his imprint. His legacy is the understanding that technology is inert without the doctrine to wield it, and doctrine is brittle without the human capacity to adapt it under pressure. The stories of World War II are too often told as stories of material or industrial triumph. The more valuable stories, the ones that hold lessons for any kind of struggle, are about the intellect under fire, the process of observing a failure, learning from it in real time, and creating a new way to survive and prevail. These stories matter because they strip away the myth and reveal the core mechanics of decision-making in chaos. They remind us that preparation is not just about stockpiling resources, but about cultivating the mindset and the trust within a team that allows for adaptation when every textbook answer proves wrong. If you find value in these deep dives into the overlooked mechanics of history, into the how and why behind the decisions that shaped our world, then you're in the right place. Consider subscribing to Warm a Chine Air. If you know someone else who appreciates history beyond the headlines, share this video. There are more of these stories to tell.